For 3 years my GF's rich parents treated me like trash. Her dad once said Emma's always had a soft spot for charity cases. One day her mom handed me cash and smirked, "Leave our daughter. This should help." But her face went white when she realized I was secretly. The check sat on the marble countertop between us, the zeros staring up like little mouths. 50,000 should be more than enough, Patricia said, sliding it closer with 2 manicured fingers. Get yourself settled somewhere. Maybe take a class or 2. Learn a trade. She wore that smile, the one I'd seen 3 years running. The one that never quite reached her eyes but always reached her checkbook. Emma doesn't need to know we had this conversation. She tilted her head, examining me the way someone examines a stain on expensive upholstery. You understand, don't you? She's always been soft. Too soft for her own good. We're just helping her make the right decision. I didn't touch the check. The right decision, I repeated. She sipped her wine. 11 in the morning, but who was counting? Richard and I have been patient. 3 years is a long time to watch your only daughter throw herself away on. She gestured vaguely at my jeans, my plain gray t-shirt, my work boots. Whatever this is. Behind her, through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the Mercer estate sprawled out in manicured perfection. Tennis courts. Pool house. The horse stables Emma's mother visited twice a year for photo opportunities. Take the check, Marcus. Her voice hardened just slightly. It's more than generous. More than you'd see in 2 years of whatever it is you do. They'd been pushing like this for a while. 3 years of dinners where Richard would ask about my little business with air quotes I could hear even when he didn't make them. 3 years of Patricia mentioning, casually, the sons of family friends, doctors, lawyers, that lovely boy from the Ashworth family who just made partner. 3 years of being seated at the far end of the table during holidays, introduced to guests as Emma's friend, handed drink orders like I was staff. The charity case comment had come about 8 months in. Richard, 4 scotches deep at their anniversary party, hadn't realized I was standing behind the hedge when he said it to his golf buddy. Emma's always had a soft spot for charity cases. Remember that 3-legged dog she wanted to adopt? Same energy. His buddy had laughed. I'd walked back inside, found Emma, and danced with her the rest of the night without saying a word about it. I probably should have said something then. Should have told her what her father really thought. But Emma loved her parents despite everything, and I'd convinced myself their behavior would change once they actually got to know me. It didn't. If anything, it escalated. The comments became less subtle. The exclusions became more pointed. Last Christmas, Patricia had accidentally left my name off the family portrait photographers list. The one they sent out to 400 people. And now this. A check. A dismissal. A severance package for the crime of loving their daughter. Mrs. Mercer, I said, keeping my voice even, I'm going to need you to put that check away. Her eyebrows lifted. Excuse me? I'm not taking your money. And I'm not leaving Emma. The smile flickered. Not quite gone, but suddenly less confident. I don't think you understand your position here. I understand it perfectly. Do you? She set down her wineglass with a precise click. Let me be clear. Richard and I have been tolerant. Extraordinarily tolerant. But Emma is 28 years old, and it's time she started thinking seriously about her future. About the kind of life she deserves. She pushed the check closer. The kind of life you can't provide. You don't know anything about what I can provide. I know you drive a 12-year-old truck. I know you rent an apartment in a building with a broken elevator. I know you work with your hands because, she made a delicate face, that's all you're qualified to do. I almost smiled at that one. Take the money, Marcus. Walk away clean. Because if you don't, she paused, letting the threat hang. Richard has friends, lawyers, people who can make things very difficult for someone in your circumstances. My circumstances. Don't play dumb. We had you looked into. No family money. No degree. No connections. Nothing but Emma's misguided affection keeping you afloat. She leaned forward. So take the check. Take it, and disappear, and let my daughter find someone worthy of her. I reached into my back pocket. Patricia's eyes tracked the movement, probably expecting me to grab the check after all. Instead, I pulled out my phone and opened an app. What are you doing? Checking something. I tapped through a few screens, then turned the phone around so she could see. Does that number look familiar to you? She squinted at the display. Her expression didn't change at first, just polite confusion, maybe even amusement that I was showing her some kind of bank app. Then the number registered. That can't be. 218 million, I said. Give or take. Markets fluctuate. The color drained from Patricia's face in real time. It was like watching a special effect. There's also the real estate portfolio, but that gets complicated. I pocketed the phone. 11 properties. commercial and residential. Mostly in the Pacific Northwest, but I've been expanding into Austin. That's not, you're lying. I'm not. You drive a truck. You wear, she gestured at my clothes again, but the gesture was weaker now. You work construction. I own construction. 3 companies, actually. Started the first one when I was 22 with a second-hand tool set and a loan from a guy who believed in me. I slid her check back across the counter. I've never cared much for fancy things. The truck runs fine. The apartment is near Emma's work. And the clothes are comfortable. Patricia's hand was shaking slightly as she reached for her wine glass. Does Emma know? That I have money? Yes. She's known from the beginning. She never told you. Because we agreed to keep it that way. I pulled out one of the bar stools and sat down, finally at eye level with her. I wanted to see how you treat me if you thought I was nobody. Emma said I was being paranoid, that her parents would come around once they saw how happy she was. I let that sit for a moment. She was wrong. Patricia opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time in 3 years, I'd rendered her completely speechless. The charity case comment. The photographer forgetting my name. The way Richard asks about my little business like I'm running a lemonade stand. I ticked them off on my fingers. The birthday party where you sat me next to the coat closet. The engagement party for your niece where I wasn't invited at all. And now this. I nodded at the check. $50,000 to make me disappear. Marcus, I'm not finished. She flinched. Actually flinched. Here's what's going to happen, Mrs. Mercer. I'm going to leave this house. I'm going to drive back to the city in my 12-year-old truck that I keep because my dad and I rebuilt the engine together before he passed. I'm going to my apartment with the broken elevator that I've actually owned for 6 years, the whole building, not just the unit. And tomorrow, I'm going to take your daughter to look at engagement rings. Patricia made a small sound. Not quite a gasp. More like the sound someone makes when they step on something sharp. You can try to explain to Richard why I'm not going anywhere. You can try to convince Emma that you were only looking out for her best interests. I stood up from the stool. But between us? You and I both know what this was really about. What it was about. You looked at me and saw someone beneath your daughter. Someone who would embarrass the family name. Someone who didn't belong at your table. I headed for the door. And you know what's funny? You were so busy looking down that you never thought to look up. I was almost to the foyer when she found her voice again. Marcus, wait, please. I stopped but didn't turn around. This was a misunderstanding. I was just trying to protect Emma. You have to understand, from our perspective. From your perspective, I was garbage. I turned then, just enough to see her standing in the kitchen doorway, wine glass trembling in her hand. 3 years, Mrs. Mercer. That's how long I gave you to treat me like a human being. You failed. What does that mean? I didn't answer. Just walked out the front door, climbed into my truck, and drove away. The call came about 2 hours later, while I was sitting in traffic on the 405. She did what? Emma's voice through the Bluetooth was sharp enough to cut glass. I'd given her the broad strokes, the check, the ultimatum, the revelation, and now she was processing, loudly. $50,000. She literally tried to pay you to break up with me. Yep. And she called you a charity case. Technically that was your dad. 8 months ago. But the sentiment was consistent. The silence on the line stretched long enough that I checked to make sure the call hadn't dropped. Emma? I'm trying to decide if I want to scream or throw something. Can you do both? I feel like that's an appropriate response. Don't make jokes. I'm furious. I know. 3 years. Her voice cracked just slightly. 3 years I've been defending them to you. Telling you they'd come around. Telling you they just needed time. And this whole time, they were waiting for you to come to your senses. Oh my God. I heard what sounded like her collapsing onto furniture. Oh my God, Marcus. All those comments I dismissed. All those little digs I pretended didn't mean anything. They actually hated you. Hate's a strong word. I think they hated the idea of me. The version of me they invented in their heads. The broke construction worker who seduced their daughter. Something like that. Another long pause. I want to go over there. Bad idea. I want to tell them exactly what I think of them. Also a bad idea. Not tonight, anyway. Why not? I changed lanes, edging past an Amazon truck. Because your mom is currently in full damage control mode. If you show up angry, she'll flip the narrative. Make it about your temper, your poor judgment, anything except what she actually did. Better to let her stew overnight. You're disturbingly calm about this. I've had 3 years to prepare. She trailed off. Actually, that's fair. Besides, I took the exit toward her building. I'm picking you up in 10 minutes. We've got a dinner reservation. Dinner? Marcus, I can't eat right now. My stomach is literally in knots. You'll want to eat at this one. Trust me. Why? What restaurant? The one on the 23rd floor of the Caldwell Tower. Silence, Marcus. Yeah? The restaurant on the 23rd floor of the Caldwell Tower is a private dining room. My dad's firm tried to book it for their anniversary gala last year. They said it was exclusively for building ownership. Marcus. See you in 10 minutes. I hung up before she could ask the obvious question. The Caldwell Tower had been my second major real estate acquisition, back when I was 26 and flush with profits from the first construction company's breakout year. An old tech billionaire wanted to divest. I wanted a foothold in commercial real estate, and his asking price was aggressive enough that half my advisors told me to walk away. I didn't walk away. 3 years later, the building's value had nearly doubled, and the private dining room on 23 had become my favorite place to celebrate milestones. Tonight felt like a milestone. Emma was quiet during the elevator ride up, her hand gripping mine tighter than usual. She'd changed into a simple black dress, her hair still damp from a quick shower, and she kept glancing at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Relax, I said. I'm trying. You've known about the money since our third date. I know, but, she shook her head. Knowing something and seeing it are different. The way my mom's face must have looked. White as a sheet. Like she'd seen a ghost. God, Emma laughed. But there was an edge to it. Part of me feels guilty for enjoying that image. Don't. She earned it. The elevator opened onto a foyer with floor-to-ceiling windows and a single host stand manned by a woman I'd known for years. Mr. Chen. Lovely to see you. Hey, Maria. Tables ready? Always. She smiled at Emma. Ms. Mercer, welcome back. Emma blinked. I'm sorry, we've met? The charity gala 2 years ago. You were here with your parents. Maria's smile didn't waver. You complimented my earrings. Yes, I remember. But I didn't realize, Emma looked at me. That was your charity gala? The foundation's, I said. But technically, yes. Maria led us to the private table by the windows, the city sprawling out beneath us in a carpet of lights. The wine was already breathing. The first course would arrive in approximately 8 minutes. I called ahead. Emma sat down slowly, like she was afraid the chair might disappear. Okay, she said. I have questions. I figured. The foundation. Which foundation? The Chen Family Foundation. We do college scholarships for first-generation students, small business grants, workforce development programs. I unfolded my napkin. Started it about 4 years ago when the third company took off. The Chen family, she pressed her fingers to her temples. That's the foundation that gave my firm a $40,000 grant for our pro bono housing clinic. Is it? Marcus. I don't micromanage the grants. The board makes those decisions. But you knew. I knew your firm applied. I didn't push for it. They qualified on merit. I poured her a glass of wine. Your work speaks for itself, Emma. I've never needed to pull strings. She took the wine but didn't drink it. Just stared at the glass like it might contain answers. How much else don't I know? You know the important stuff. The money, the companies, why I don't advertise any of it. I leaned back. The details. I keep those quiet because they invite complications. People treat you differently when they know you're worth something. My parents treated you differently because they thought you were worth nothing. And now they know better. Emma finally took a sip. Then a longer one. What happens now? She asked. Now, we eat dinner. Tomorrow, we look at rings. And at some point, probably Sunday, your parents are going to call with some version of an apology that isn't really an apology. And then? That's up to you. She set down her glass. What do you mean? I mean they're your parents. However we handle this going forward, you need to be comfortable with it. I'm not asking you to cut them off. I'm not asking you to choose. But I'm also not going to pretend the last 3 years didn't happen. I met her eyes. They had 3 years to see me as a person. They chose not to. That tells me everything I need to know about them. Emma was quiet for a long moment. My mom cried when she called me, she said finally. After you left. She was practically hysterical. Said there'd been a terrible misunderstanding, that she never meant to offend you, that she didn't know. That she didn't know I was rich. Basically. Does that change anything? Emma's jaw tightened. No. It actually makes it worse. How so? Because she's not sorry for what she did. She's sorry you turned out to be someone who matters. Emma's voice hardened. If you'd actually been broke, she'd have felt justified. She'd have cashed that check the second you walked away. Probably. So what she's really sorry about is getting caught. Getting embarrassed. Having to face me knowing I know exactly what kind of person she is. The first course arrived, seared scallops with a citrus reduction, Maria's personal recommendation. Emma didn't touch hers. I've spent my whole life making excuses for them, she said. They're protective. They're traditional. They just want what's best for me. But that's not it, is it? They don't want what's best for me. They want what looks best. What fits their narrative. The perfect daughter with the perfect husband from the perfect family. And I didn't fit. You didn't fit because they never bothered to look past the surface. She picked up her fork, then set it down again. You know what really kills me? You knew. From day one, you knew they'd treat you like trash if they thought you were nobody. And I didn't believe you. You wanted to see the best in them. I wanted to be naive, she laughed bitterly. Turns out that's not the same thing. The call from Richard Mercer came Sunday afternoon, right on schedule. I was on my balcony with a cup of coffee, watching the boats drift across the bay, when my phone buzzed with a number I'd never expected to see on my screen. Marcus. His voice was stiff, formal. The voice of a man who'd practiced what he was about to say. I think we need to talk. Do we? A pause. He hadn't expected that. I understand there's been some tension. Patricia told me about your conversation Friday. I want to clear the air. Clear the air. Yes. I heard ice clinking in a glass. Richard Mercer and his scotch, reliable as gravity. There may have been some miscommunication over the years. Things taken out of context, blown out of proportion. I'm calling to assure you that Patricia and I have nothing but respect for you. Since Friday? Excuse me? You've had nothing but respect for me since Friday. Before that, I was the charity case your daughter brought home. The silence stretched. I don't know where you heard that phrase. I heard it from you. Anniversary party, 3 years ago. I was standing behind the hedge. More silence. The ice clinked again. That was... I'd had too much to drink. It was a joke. Hilarious. Marcus, I think we're getting off track here. We're exactly on track. I set down my coffee. Here's what I think is happening, Richard. I think Patricia told you about the money. I think you spent Saturday verifying it, probably through some contact at whatever bank you assumed I couldn't possibly afford. I think you found out I wasn't lying, ran some numbers, realized exactly how badly you'd miscalculated, and now you're calling to smooth things over before I do something that affects your daughter's inheritance. That's not. It is. And I want you to know that I don't care about the money. Not yours, anyway. I never did. What I cared about was basic human decency. 3 years, Richard. 3 years I sat at your table, loved your daughter, and tried to earn your respect. And you never once gave me a chance. We can start fresh. Patricia and I both want. What you want is irrelevant. For the first time, something cracked in his voice. What does that mean? It means the dynamics of this relationship have changed. You spent 3 years treating me like something you scraped off your shoe. Now you know the truth, and suddenly you want to be friends. I watched a sailboat tack into the wind, its white sail catching the afternoon sun. That's not how it works. So what? You're going to punish us? Turn Emma against her own family? I'm not going to do anything. Emma's a grown woman. She'll make her own decisions. I finished my coffee. But I will say this, when she looks at you now, she doesn't see protective parents anymore. She sees people who tried to buy off the man she loves because he wasn't good enough for their dinner table. That's going to be hard to come back from. We can explain. You can try. But here's the thing about explanations, Richard. They only work when the other person still trusts you. I hung up before he could respond. Emma chose a ring 3 days later. Simple, elegant, a 2-carat emerald-cut diamond on a platinum band. Not flashy. Not ostentatious. Just right. You're sure? I asked. She held out her hand, watching the stone catch the light. I'm sure. The jeweler, a quiet man I'd known for years, excused himself to prepare the paperwork. We stood alone in the private room, surrounded by velvet displays and soft lighting. My mom called again this morning, Emma said. And? I let it go to voicemail. That's the 4th time this week. 7th, actually. She lowered her hand. She's getting desperate. Left a message about wanting to throw us an engagement party. Properly, she said. At the house, with the family, the way it should be done. What did you tell her? Nothing yet. Emma turned to face me fully. I've been thinking about what you said. About how she's not sorry for what she did, just sorry she got caught. And I think you're right. But I also think. She trailed off, searching for words. I think cutting them off completely would break something in me. They're terrible in a lot of ways, but they're still my parents. I still remember my dad teaching me to ride a bike. I still remember my mom staying up all night when I had scarlet fever. That doesn't excuse. I know it doesn't. I'm not trying to excuse anything. She took my hands. I'm just saying I don't want to choose between them and you. What I want is boundaries. Clear, non-negotiable boundaries. And consequences if they cross them. What kind of boundaries? They treat you with respect. Full stop. No comments, no digs, no looking down their noses. If they can't manage that, we leave, immediately. No second chances, no smoothing things over. And if they violate it? Then we're done. The relationship is over. Her grip tightened. But I want to give them one chance to get it right. One. Not because they deserve it, they don't, but because I need to know I tried everything before walking away. I studied her face for a long moment. The determination there. The pain underneath it. Okay, I said. Okay? One chance. Clear boundaries. We'll see if they can rise to it. Emma exhaled slowly, relief washing over her features. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I'm betting they blow it within a month. You might be right. She smiled faintly. But at least I'll know. The engagement party happened 3 weeks later, against my better judgment. Patricia had gone all out. Catering, flowers, a string quartet playing in the garden. The guest list was carefully curated. Mercer family friends, business associates, a smattering of Emma's colleagues. Everyone who mattered to Richard and Patricia's image of who their daughter should be marrying. I showed up in a suit I'd had tailored in Milan, driving a car I'd kept in storage for occasions exactly like this. Not to impress them. To eliminate any possible ammunition. Mr. Chen. Patricia greeted me at the door with a smile so tight it looked painful. Welcome. You look very nice. Mrs. Mercer. Please. She touched my arm with exaggerated warmth. Call me Patricia. I didn't respond to that. The party swirled around us in practiced elegance. Champagne flutes clinked. Laughter echoed off imported marble. Richard worked the room with the ease of a man who'd spent his whole life convincing people he belonged in places like this. For the first hour, everything was fine. Better than fine, actually. Richard shook my hand, clapped my shoulder, introduced me to his colleagues as Emma's fiancé, Marcus Chen, runs his own construction empire, if you can believe it. Patricia complimented Emma's ring, made small talk about wedding venues, even asked my opinion on the catering. I almost started to relax. That was my mistake. It happened near the bar, around 9 o'clock. I'd stepped away to get Emma a drink when I heard Richard's voice from the other side of a decorative hedge. Got lucky, if you ask me. Right place, right time. These tech types, they stumble into money and suddenly think they're titans of industry. The voice that responded was unfamiliar. One of his golf buddies, probably. Still, 200 million? That's not stumbling. Construction money. Richard made the word sound like a mild disease. Blue-collar roots. You can dress it up, but... He trailed off meaningfully. I stepped around the hedge. Richard's face went through an interesting series of expressions when he saw me. Surprise, fear. A desperate attempt at recovery. Marcus. We were just talking about. I heard. The golf buddy suddenly remembered he needed to be somewhere else. Richard and I stood alone in the garden, the string quartet's music drifting over us like an ironic soundtrack. It wasn't what it sounded like. It was exactly what it sounded like. I kept my voice calm, conversational. Blue-collar roots. Stumbled into money. Same song, third verse. I was being careless. I'd had a few drinks. You always have a few drinks when you say what you really think. Richard's face hardened. The mask slipping again. Look, I'm trying here. Patricia and I both are. But you have to understand, this is an adjustment. Emma was supposed to marry someone from your world. Yes, from my world. Someone we knew, someone with the right background, someone who wasn't me. He didn't deny it. That was almost refreshing. The money doesn't change who you are, Richard said quietly. It doesn't change where you came from. And I'm sorry if that makes me a snob, but it's the truth. I nodded slowly. Thank you. For what? For being honest, finally. I pulled out my phone. Emma? Can you come to the garden? By the bar. Richard's face went pale. What are you doing? Exactly what we agreed on. Emma appeared a minute later, her expression already guarded. She'd known something was wrong the second I called. What happened? Your father was explaining to his friend why I don't really belong here. Blue-collar roots. Stumbled into money. I looked at Richard. Did I get that right? Richard opened his mouth. Closed it. Dad? Emma's voice was dangerously quiet. Emma, sweetheart, this is being blown out of proportion. Is it? She stepped closer to him. Because I remember a conversation we had 3 weeks ago. About respect. About treating Marcus like a human being. About one chance. I made a careless comment. That hardly. That's exactly what this was about. Emma's composure cracked just slightly, revealing the anger underneath. You couldn't even make it one night. One party. One single evening of pretending you don't think you're better than him. I never said I was better. You didn't have to. She turned to me. We're leaving. Emma, please. Patricia had materialized from somewhere, her face a mask of panic. Don't do this. Not here. Not in front of everyone. That's what you're worried about? How this looks? I'm worried about my daughter making a scene at her own engagement party. Emma laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. A scene, right. We couldn't have that. She grabbed my hand. Say goodbye to your guests, Mom. Explain why we left. I'm sure you'll come up with something appropriately dignified. We walked out through the front door, past the valet station, past the line of imported cars gleaming under the security lights. Emma didn't look back once. The drive home was silent for the first 20 minutes. Then Emma started crying. Not the dramatic, sobbing kind. Just quiet tears tracking down her cheeks while she stared out the window at the passing lights. I knew, she said finally. Some part of me knew they'd fail. I just didn't think it would be this fast. This blatant. I'm sorry. Don't be. She wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. It's better this way, quick, clean. No ambiguity. What do you want to do? Right now? I want to go home, pour a very large glass of wine, and not think about them for at least a week. She turned to look at me. After that, I don't know. Maybe therapy. Maybe distance. Maybe both. And the wedding? We do it our way, small, meaningful. People who actually love us, not people who want to be seen loving us. She reached over and took my hand. No Mercers on the guest list. Are you sure? I gave them their chance. They blew it. Her voice steadied. Some bridges are supposed to burn. The wedding happened 6 months later, on a cliff overlooking the Pacific. 40 guests. No string quartet. A local officiant who told terrible jokes and made everyone feel at home. Emma's college roommate as maid of honor. My best friend from the construction days as best man. A reception at a restaurant I loved, not a country club anyone was trying to impress. Richard and Patricia weren't there. They tried, of course. The letter started about a month after the engagement party. Apologies, explanations. Promises to do better, be better, try again. Patricia flew to the city twice, showed up at Emma's office with flowers and tears and rehearsed regret. Emma didn't take the meetings. I've spent my whole life accepting their apologies, she told me one night. Forgiving the small cruelties because they were family. Because that's what you do. And now? Now I'm done, she said it without anger. Without sadness. Just a flat, final certainty. They showed me who they are. I'm choosing to believe them. The wedding was beautiful. The dinner was better. We danced under string lights while the sun set over the ocean, surrounded by people who'd known us before the money, before the companies, before any of it mattered. Around 11, my phone buzzed with a text from an unfamiliar number. Congratulations on your wedding. We're so happy for you both. Please know we'll always be here when Emma is ready. With love, Mom and Dad. I showed it to Emma. She read it once, then handed the phone back. Delete it. I did. A year later, I bought the building next to Richard Mercer's law firm. It wasn't planned. Not exactly. The property came up during a routine portfolio review. Prime downtown location, good tenants, solid returns. My acquisitions team flagged it as a strong investment. The fact that it shared a wall with Mercer and Associates was just a coincidence. Or so I told myself. Construction started 3 months after closing. Nothing dramatic, just renovations to the lower floors, improvements to the facade. Normal maintenance that any responsible owner would undertake. The jackhammers started at 7 a.m. sharp, perfectly within city ordinance. Richard called me directly about a week in. This is harassment. Good morning to you too, Richard. Don't play games. You bought that building specifically to disrupt my practice. My clients can't hear themselves think. We're losing billable hours. Sounds like a facilities problem. Maybe you should upgrade your soundproofing. You think this is funny? I think it's construction. Loud, disruptive, occasionally inconvenient. I leaned back in my chair. You should be used to that, right? Dealing with people who build things for a living? The line went dead. I won't pretend I didn't enjoy that. The final piece fell into place 2 years after the wedding. Richard's firm had been struggling for a while. Some bad investments, a few key partners jumping ship, the slow erosion that happens when the patriarch cares more about prestige than performance. I heard about it through channels. Business gossip. The kind of information that finds its way to people who own buildings downtown. When Mercer and Associates finally folded, Patricia was the one who called. "I need to see Emma." Her voice was thin, fragile in a way I'd never heard before. "Please. Just tell her I called. Tell her I need her." I could have ignored it. Probably should have. But I passed the message along, because it wasn't my decision to make. Emma listened. Then she picked up her phone and blocked her mother's number. "I have nothing left to say to them," she told me that night. "They had their chances. All of them. They chose what they chose. And now? Now I choose us." She curled against me on the couch, her head on my shoulder. "I choose the family we're building. The life we're building. Not the one they wanted me to have." Outside, the city glittered with a million lights. Somewhere out there, Richard and Patricia were dealing with the wreckage of their own making. The firm. The reputation. The daughter who'd finally stopped coming back. I didn't feel sorry for them. Some lessons only stick when they cost you everything. 3 years later, Emma and I stood on the deck of our house, watching our daughter take her first steps across the sun-warmed planks. "She's got your stubbornness," Emma said, laughing as Lily toppled over, then immediately pushed herself back up to try again. "And your refusal to quit. We should probably be worried about that combination." "Probably." Lily made it 4 steps before falling into my arms, giggling. I lifted her up, pointed toward the bay. "See the boats, Lily? You want to go see the boats?" She babbled something that might have been agreement. Emma slipped her arm through mine. "Think she'll ever know them? My parents?" I'd thought about this question. Prepared for it, even. But now that it was here, the answer was simpler than I'd expected. "That's up to you." "What would you do?" "I'd let them prove they've changed. Really changed. Not just apologize because they want something, but actually become different people." I watched a sailboat tack across the water. But I also wouldn't hold my breath. Emma was quiet for a long moment. "They sent a gift," she said finally. "For Lily's birthday. A silver rattle. Probably cost more than my first car." "What did you do with it?" "Donated it." She shrugged. "Some things can't be bought." They never learned that. Lily squirmed in my arms, reaching toward the water. I set her down carefully, watching her toddle toward the deck railing, her tiny hands gripping the bars. "My dad used to say money was just a tool," I said. "It doesn't make you a good person or a bad one. It just makes you more of whatever you already were." And what were they already? People who only valued what they could measure. I pulled Emma closer. Bank accounts. Social status. The right zip code. The right last name. "And you?" I valued the one thing they never could. I kissed the top of her head. The person standing right in front of me. Lily had found a bug on the deck and was crouched over it, fascinated. Emma laughed, breaking away to scoop her up before she could eat whatever she discovered. Behind us, the house we built together, not inherited, not given, built, caught the afternoon light. A home filled with people who'd chosen each other. Who'd fought for each other. Who'd burned every bridge that needed burning to get here. The Mercers sent Christmas cards sometimes. Birthday checks we never cashed. The occasional email that Emma deleted without reading. Maybe one day things would be different. People changed. Miracles happened. But I wasn't betting on it. Some bridges are supposed to burn. And the warmth they leave behind is all the light you need.